Hello, this is Dr. Alan Ngim. Today I'm going to show you the circle of fifths and talk about key signatures. So we're going to start with the major key signatures, and you should definitely have all of your key signatures memorized, but I know that the minors are a little bit more complicated, so you can start with the major key signatures. Now, most of you know this acronym. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. This is the one thing that you have to know. Some of you have other ones maybe that you know, but fat cats go down alleys eating birds. If you know this, you can learn all of your key signatures. So how does this work? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you to write a little clock like this. I highly recommend that you follow along on a piece of paper, like that. So go ahead and write your clock. And now I'm going to put at the top the key that has no accidentals, no sharps or flats, and we all know that that's C. I could write this out in a line, but you're going to see that there's a reason why we go in a circle. Now, follow along here. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. We're going to move to the right now, just in the same order that these letters go. And we're going to be moving up by perfect fifths. So on the piano it sounds something like this. C, G, D, A, E, B. Okay, so that's fat cats go down alleys eating birds. So C, G, D, A, E, B. All of these are naturals. So these are all on the white keys. These are all perfect fifths. C to G, G to D, D to A to E, and E to B. When we get to B, it's an exception. So B to F sharp is a perfect fifth. Okay? And there's one other exception, of course. I'll get to this. But what you should notice here is that suddenly we have to go from a white key to a black key. We have to add that sharp, and of course the sharp raises it up a half step to the very next note. Same thing for B flat. It's a black key, B flat to F natural. Okay, so the same for this. So when we hit B, we have to change. We have to add an accidental. Now, because of that, B up a fifth is F sharp. And then, again, we stay on the black keys. C sharp. And these are all of the sharp keys. So as we go around here, we're adding on sharps to the key signature. So G is 1 sharp, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5 sharps, 6 sharps, and 7 sharps. So the yellow, right now, this equals sharps. Okay? Now we're going to go to the left side, and I'll use a different color. I'll use green. How do we go backwards? Well, it's really easy. We take fat cats go down alleys eating birds, and we turn it around to bead G, C, F. So you can see all I did is I went backwards. So the green is this, going backwards. And to memorize this, you could just think bead, GCF. Oftentimes, well, everybody calls this, if you're mathematically inclined, greatest common factor. This should all be, I hope, for you review. All right, BEADGCF. Let's go back the other direction now using this. So we start with C. Now we're going to go counterclockwise. F, And now I have to start over again because I've reached the end, so I'm going to start with the B. But remember, when you have B involved, we have to change to the accidental. So that's that exception. So we're going to end up on the black key this time at B flat. And from then on, everything's flat because we have to stay in the black keys. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. These are the flat keys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So green here, these are the flats. Alright, so this is all of the major keys. If you want to play in the key of C, you have no flats or sharps. G, 1 sharp, D, 2 sharps, and so on. If you go the other direction, C is a 0, F has 1 flat, B flat has 2 flats, E flat has 3 flats, and so on. And again, you could memorize the order of this using Fat Cats Go Down Alleys Eating Birds and BEADGCF. Let's move on now, because BEADGCF and Fat Cats Go Down Alleys Eating Birds also tells you the order of the accidentals. So, I'm going to write the key signatures for both all of the flats and all of the sharps. Now, pardon my writing here, it's a little sloppy. Here's the sharps. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. Again, I hope you're not just sitting watching me, but you're doing this along with me. And in the bass clef, it looks like this. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. Okay. Flat keys. Bead, so it's B-E-A-D, G, C, F. And in the bass clef, B-E-A-D, G, C, and F. Okay, so those are the accidentals, all of them. So on the left side, this would be the key of C sharp. On the right side, this is the key of C flat. Now, a couple of things to note. One is the size of these accidentals. I'm not really being that neat, but when you write your accidentals, be sure not to make them too big or too small. The sharps, 2 vertical lines, 2 diagonal lines. This one's a little bit big, but notice that this space here is about the space of one space. You don't want it to go over the line as well. So if I made it a little bit bigger like this, whoops, my hand automatically goes to the size that it's looking at. All right, let's see if I can write one that's just a little bit too big, like this. Where I have part of the line and part of the space, that's no good. And if I write it like this, I see this a lot where it's almost like it just fits inside. That's too small. Okay, so neither of these are good. Same thing with the flats. If I write the flat too big, I can't tell if that's a C flat or a D flat. And if I write it too small, it's really hard to see. So that's no good. Alright, now you know how to write and all of the key signatures, because if we go back to up here, let's say I wanted the key signature for E major. Okay, well, E major, you can see over here on the right, it has 4 sharps. Okay, so that's fat cats go down alleys eating, and the eating 4 sharps. So to create that key signature, I'm going to go onto the left side here, and I'm just going to cross out the sharps that I don't need. Okay, so I don't need the last 3, because I only need 4 of them, right? So if I erase those sharps on the right, and I leave just 3 sharps, then down here I am going to have the key of E. Okay, so that's how you use the circle of fifths to create different keys. Now, let's say I wanted to have the key of, I don't know, D flat, for example, on the right side. I could see here at the bottom, at 7 o'clock on my clock, D flat has 5 flats. So, if I wanted to create this, I would have to get rid of the last 2 here, all right, to make D flat. So I'm going to erase these, like this, and I'm left with 5 flats, and now this would be the key of D flat major. Now, there's tricks for also recognizing these keys. So, suppose you wanted to, you see a key signature, and you know you're in major, you're listening to the music, and it sounds like it's in major, and you look at the music, and you see, for example, let's say you see this key signature. You see 3 sharps. Suppose you haven't really memorized this so well, but you hear that the music's in major. Well, for sharp keys, to identify the key from the key signature this way, what you do is you look at the very last sharp. So you're going to look at this. And then you go up a half step. So, to find the key, go up a half step, in other words, to the very next note, from the last sharp. Alright? So the last sharp here is, well, it's Fat Cat's Go, so it's G sharp, and we go up a half step to A. So this key is A major. All right, that works for all of the keys that have sharps in them. Look at the last sharp, go up a half step, that's the key. Now hopefully you memorize this so you don't have to use this method, but if you feel a little weak on key signatures, this is a shortcut. So look on the left side of the screen here. How do I know this is the key of E? Well, the last sharp here on the right is, of course, D sharp. So it's Fat Cats Go Down, Alleys, and D sharp up a half step is E. So again, the key is E. All right? So the key is A there, the key is E over on the left. What about flats? Well, very simple here as well. For flat keys, you're going to look at something different. You're going to look at the second to the last flat. So this works for every key except for F. You just have to remember F has 1 flat. And, well, how would you remember that? I don't know. It's easy. F only has 1 flat. Okay, look at the second to the last flat. This is super, super easy. So what do you do from that point? Well, that flat, that's the key. Okay, so the key here, the second to the last flat, looks like D flat. And we already know that this is D flat, but you can see that the accidental there, bead, right? B-E-A-D, and D flat is the key. So you back up 1. Second to last flat, the penultimate flat. So that is the key. Alright, we have one more topic to cover, and that's minor key signatures. So I'm going to return back up here to our circle of fifths. The minor key signatures are going to go inside. Let me erase a little bit of this over here. How do you find these? Well, we use what's called the relative major and minor. So minor keys and major keys are related. The major key, whatever it may be, is a minor third above minor. Okay, so if you take any major key, these are a minor third apart. They have the same key signature, is what I'm trying to say here. Alright, so same key signature. This is the definition for relative keys. So if two keys have the same key signature but a different DO, same key signature, different DO, different starting note, they are relatives. So, alright, and for major and minor, they're a minor third apart. So, what's a minor third down from C major? Another thing, if you have trouble with figuring out minor thirds, go 3 half steps. Make sure you go down 2 letter names. So, C, B, A, that's 2 letter names. C, B, A, and here's the 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. So we go down here, and most of you know that the relative is A. A minor has no sharps or flats. And together, A to C makes Brahms' lullaby. So minor third, we know this little tune, okay? From there, we can create the whole circle of fifths. Same way. So we're going to go, we think fat cats go down alleys eating birds. Alleys eating birds. Again, you can remember that we have to make this F sharp. You could also look on the outside of this where, you know, it's going to follow the same pattern. So C sharp is next. We know fat cats go, but now we have to put sharps down alleys. Okay, so there are all the sharp minor keys. When we go the opposite direction, we use BEADGCF. So if we look over here, we're starting on A. D, G, C, F. And remember, when we go from F, when we go to B, B now has to be flat because we have to change the color of the key. In other words, the key on the piano. And then E flat and A flat. Alright. Now, something interesting to notice here at the bottom. It looks really messy, and I'm sorry I got a little bit too close here. But in this area down here, at basically 5, 6, and 7 o'clock, we have keys that are enharmonic. So this is why we have 2 different letter names over here on the right. What does that mean? Okay. Enharmonic keys sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Or enharmonic notes, same thing. So for example, C sharp, another name for C sharp is D flat. Alright, C flat, another name for C flat is B. And G flat and F sharp, they have the same name. Okay, these keys share, they share 2 different possible key signatures. So if you have the sharp key, of course you use sharps. So B, F sharp, and C sharp are sharp keys. For the flat keys, well, it's easy, D flat, G flat, and C flat. So if you see a key signature that is a flat, of course that's a flat key. And but they sound the same. So if I play C sharp major, C sharp, it's the same as D flat. Given the option, I would recommend that you write in the key signature that uses fewer accidentals. So given the option between C sharp and D flat, I would write in D flat. Given the option between C flat and B, I would probably choose to write in B, just to make it, well, maybe easier. I don't know. Some people prefer maybe to write plain C flat, just flat everything. Sharp keys are, for some reason, are a little bit more challenging. At least for pianists, I think flat keys are a little bit, they're not as bad. Sharp keys, there's something weird about those. Okay, and between G flat and F sharp, those are just bad keys to play in. I mean, if you don't have to write your piece in G flat or F sharp, I would avoid those 2 keys because they are, you know, they're not easy to play in. I would say maybe G flat's a little bit easier. Okay, that's it for today. Definitely memorize your key signatures. Learn, you can't forget fat cats go down alleys eating birds. Write out the circle of fifths. Write out some keys. You're going to your first assignment is going to be writing scales, and in the next video, I'll be using these key signatures to write scales. Until then, enjoy, and I'll see you at the next video.